So my name is Vito Peleg, and I actually started building websites when I was 14 years old through GeoCities. And it was kind of like a skateboarding crew website for my own skateboarding crew when I was in high school. And that's when I kind of really fell in love with the web and started doing like HTML and learned HTML, learned CSS, and really figured it out on my own. Fast forward a few years, when I got signed, well, I was playing in a band and we got signed in the UK.
You got signed?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we moved, like I already had like a social media agency at the beginning of Facebook. We were doing like all the major universities in the country back in Israel. And as soon as we got signed, I was like, close everything, let's go for the dream. And we all moved to the UK. And for the next few years, we grew the band from just like a few people in the show, like 10 people, to a few hundred people, to a few thousand people. We released 2 albums worldwide.
Wow.
And then the band broke up one day. And while we were doing this, we were still not making any money. So while we were kind of thinking we're doing what we love, we couldn't afford rent, we couldn't afford anything. And so I started building websites as a means to make some income from the back of the van while we were touring around Europe. And once the band broke up, I kind of tried to figure out what I can do next and how I can take this kind of knowledge that I have and take it to the next step. Within the first year, I made 6 figures with my freelancing business, building websites in London. By year 3, I had a team of 12 guys. And that's when things became hairy in terms of growing further and scaling past the glass ceiling that everyone is talking about with the agency model.
Well, hold on. Now, what is the glass ceiling with the agency model?
So it's something that everyone discovers once you get to that point. So it's very, very rare for an agency to go beyond 15 people or go beyond 30,000, let's say, pounds per month. An agency that manages to do that has a proper structure, and it's more led not by a technician that started scaling just based on gut feeling, but business people that have structure and understand processes and workflows.
Okay, so you're saying that when you get to that point with an agency, you need business processes, you need good HR, human resources,
yes.
And all the other kind of ingredients, and before that, you can kind of get by.
Yeah,
right? You can just keep the business keeps coming in. You've got enough people. What was the number you said? How many people is the glass ceiling?
It's like 15 people.
15.
That's
okay.
that's the accepted kind of.
So
number.
It's a little chaotic, but things are getting done. Clients are happy, and after that, unless you got the processes in place, things fall apart. It sounds
things
like.
start to fall apart. Clients get pissed off. And to grow further, you just need to bring on more bodies and more bodies and more bodies, which erodes the profitability really, really quickly. And so I was trying to figure out what's the next move and how, and I investigated into my own business, trying to see where is the leak, where's the profit leak, And it always came down to client communications. So a client that just hangs on a project instead of finishing it in 1 month, they don't give you the content, they don't give you the stuff that you need to complete the project, and then it hangs for sometimes more than a year. And so does the final payment, right?
Okay. And that's because the client isn't being responsive, and so you kind of have to manage the client?
So that's what people say. It's like they blame it on the client. But the more you look at it, and if you really dive into it, it's not the client's fault, it's always the business fault. Okay. You gotta take that responsibility on yourself because you didn't train them properly, you didn't give them a process that they can easily follow, that is so easy that they can't mess it up, and that it's just basic for them,
Okay, all right.
And that's when I kind of looked into all kinds of communication processes and what other people are doing, and I found that it's a huge problem within our industry, getting the clients to actually do what you need from them. And the basic problem is it is just the mindset of us being digital people. It's hard for us to imagine how digitally illiterate the clients sometimes are, They have no idea what we're talking about in most cases, especially, with the security and stuff. They have no understanding of the consequences of some of the stuff that they're not doing.
Okay.
And that's when WP Feedback came about, which is like a communication tool to just we basically try to look at the most basic process that a client can do to give you feedback, which is sitting next to you, pointing at the screen and telling you, change this, do that, only without having them in the room. And that's basically the idea of having stickers on the live website.
Okay.
So now the main focus is WP feedback. The agency is still running, but it's in the process of scaling down and just focusing on product so that we can grow this even further.
Yeah, very cool. So when we were chatting earlier, I mean, we met today, right?
Yeah.
We met like what, 2 hours ago or something, and you were telling me this, the story, and you told me about the revenue that you had hit in the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this guy's totally full of it. But then I did some of the arithmetic, and I was like, wait, that actually checks out. And then you told me how you achieved that, and I thought it was quite amazing. You want to tell that story?
So, like the way that I looked at it, because we were doing within the agency, that's what you did. You build a product, you build a website, you take it to market, and again, and again, and again. So you do it like between 5 to 10 times a month. And you take things to market and try to help the clients find their target audience, refine the message, and get it in front of the right people that will actually convert. So this was just like the best practice that I could ask for, because that's exactly what, like, I took all the lessons and all the stuff that worked with clients over the years, and I just implemented this into this kind of process. And the way that I went about it is I started with, and I think this is the right way to do any launch, I started with bootstrapping the entire thing. So I didn't invest anything into the product. So if you don't have money to invest, you want to look into means of communicating with other people without spending that money on ads or on these kind of things. So we did cold outreach. We went on social media, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram, and on Twitter, and we just found other companies that already gathered our target audience, and we followed their audiences. We interacted with their audiences, and we just told them what we're doing. And if they're interested, just give them a little nudge, you know. And if you have a good product market fit and what you're doing is actually valuable to the person you're speaking to, they're going to come on board. You know, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and just to jump in there for a second, you were running an agency for a while. I think you said about 3 years.
Yes.
And this product is targeted at agencies, and so you are your own customer, and so the likelihood of you having a product market fit is pretty high, right?
Yes, and that's the funnest thing about this product, you know, because instead of trying to figure out every audience and what they want, I just look at myself, I just look at the team that is sitting next to me in the office, and we just talk about our problems. And the problem that we're solving here was the biggest problem within my own business. So as soon as we fixed it for us, it worked for everyone else. But another thing that I did is that when I started approaching the market and started to bring people on board, even before the plugin was ready, just getting early signups, we had the most basic MVP that we could build. So the idea was not to build any kind of elaborate features or anything that is kind of workflow specific kind of stuff. The idea was just to get the basic concept working, and then communicate with the people, with the audience that we've gathered, and ask them, what do you need in order for you to put this in your workflow? And and it's kind of worked together with the fact that it's called WP feedback, right? So the entire value is getting the ideas, getting the features from the people that are actually going to use that.
Okay. All right. So you know what we're chatting about here is how you managed to generate quite a lot of revenue in the first few weeks, and you're saying that you sort of went around and you managed to find these folks, in the various channels that you described. And they signed up. And did they sign up for an email list?
Yes. So they signed up to join the beta group, basically. But well, in my mind, I thought it's going to take like a full month to find 100 people that will be willing to spend time and test something that was never used by anyone else. But it actually took 10 hours to get to the first 100 people.
Okay.
And by the end of the month, we had 1,300 people that were already signed up to the mailing list.
Okay, and so now you've got this mailing list, and
Yes.
you're using those folks to help you design the product.
Yeah.
And you've got the sort of product feedback loop going there that really lets you refine your product market fit. And where did you go from there?
So once we had something that we saw that people, so every time we released an update, and we did that twice a week, so really, really rapid development and modifications. So twice a week, every Tuesday and every Friday, we had an update going out with new features, new bug fixes, and just accelerating the product to market. When it was ready, it already had people that were using it. So they gave us on top of the feedback, they gave us testimonials that I later used to get other people on board. The way that I did it is with it's a classic kind of launch move. You do like a founding members deal, which unfortunately a lot of people are not doing. They either start with a free product, which I think is the worst thing you can do, or they just jump into just like, okay, we're open, right? But I think I told you about this, like, you know, I'm from Israel originally, and there is a thing about Jewish weddings, and it's like a massive event, right? So you get hundreds of people coming to a wedding, and you don't get gifts, you get like a check. That's kind of the normal gift that you get. So you're basically reaching out to you're doing like crowdfunding for your life. That's how I look at a wedding, you know.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing with the band. Every time we reached a new place, we didn't do any free shows in new locations. The first show is the one that is going to bring you the most amount of revenue, because people like new stuff, right? They like innovative stuff. They like to kind of be first. There are these people that want to be first.
Yeah, there's a specific type of person that is an early adopter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that worked really well in those 3 weeks, just by getting those people on board, having a lifetime deal, which we're not gonna come back to after this initial kind of launch, but giving them the opportunity to join us at an early stage and become part of this ever kind of never-ending process of building and iterating of the product, with the feedback loop that we're talking about.
Yeah. And so you got that those initial folks signed up on a list.
Yeah.
You used them to help you design the product. And I don't want to say like you used them, because it was really a collaborative thing, right?
Yeah,
they're going to end up with a product that's valuable for them.
Exactly.
And then you kind of pitched them on this deal where, do you mind sharing the numbers? You know, how much it cost and how many folks signed up and how much you raised in the initial few weeks?
Yes. So we did like, first of all, when we're talking about pricing, you never know. Right? You never know how much to price.
Yeah, pricing is weird, and anyone who's done it knows that. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah.
And especially when you try to price your own product, you know, you either think that it's the best thing in the world and you overprice it,
or you think it's total crap and you feel weird about putting any price on it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So what I did is I hypothesized a few pricing points that I thought were reasonable, but I didn't tell the group. So I just asked them, how much would you pay for this? And I gave them the options of like 1 domain, 5 domains, and unlimited. So, and then I just put it out there and see what they came out with. And the interesting thing is that no one picked my choice. And whatever they chose was a lot more than what I thought I should be charging for the product.
And that's like such a classic pattern, isn't it? Like the creator, the technologist doesn't see value in your own thing because you think about all the bugs.
Yeah.
You don't think about the value that it gives the customer.
Yeah. So you see the faults. You know, you always see the faults because you see the naked product, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
You know.
Agreed.
But when people interact with it, they see the UI, they see how kind of smooth stuff are. You know, they get the general gist of it.
They see the sausage, not how the sausage is made.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see the sausage from the inside.
Yeah.
And something that I like to remember is that you got to go out there. So, for example, Bill Gates always used to say that if he would have waited for Windows to be ready, it wouldn't be launched until today.
Yeah.
So it's just about just going out there and then keep improving, keep adding, keep like modifying until you keep refining your product market fit all the time.
Yeah.
You asked about the pricing. We ended up doing like $55 per 1 domain per year. That's like the founding members deal. There was I think 160 for the 5 domains. Not many bought the 5 domains one because they either went for the 1 or the unlimited or the lifetime. The unlimited was 280, and the lifetime was 497. And the cool thing that I did is I also gave an option for the lifetime to split it into 3 payments of 170 each. And that allowed me to also, while doing like the large sums for the people that pay the 500, it allowed me to create some cash flow for the upcoming months as well. So I didn't know how well it's going to go, but having that security that you're going to get 170 for the next 3 months gives you some leeway and helps reduce the white hair when you're trying to figure out what...
And the white knuckles.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm just kind of calm because I know that the next 2 months we're still going to have income. Now we have enough funds to take this to the next level, to execute the huge marketing strategy that I've built that I need a lot of money to execute. So
you basically raised seed funding through a kind of crowdfunding campaign, but you never used any platform like Kickstarter or anything like that.
Yes.
You did it all yourself.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that by doing it yourself, you were able to incorporate like a feedback loop where those early customers, before they became buyers, were part of this, part of building the product.
Yeah. So the way that I kind of went about it is I created like a 3-step funnel. The first thing, give me your email and I'll give you a discount or when we launch. Just give me your email, basically. The second thing, they got to a survey. I think you saw the booklet that I did based on that. So I just asked them, how does your business look like? What kind of tools are you using? What is your go-to theme, your go-to page builder, so that we can check compatibility with all the tools even before we give that to them, to the beta group. And the third step was a video of me talking about the importance of sharing the knowledge with the community and asking them to share our solution at an early stage. And that created a huge ripple effect because when someone is being invested in a product doesn't have to mean that you spent money on it. You just need to take some actions that require you to be honest with yourself and spend some time on it. So by taking them through the process of first giving the email to get that initial commitment, and then spending 5 to 10 minutes filling out not a short survey, they already felt like they're part of the game. So the third step of, okay, now bring your friends over was an easy one. So that kind of helped us grow a lot faster than just me pounding at it and trying to get people one by one. The community did its thing. And especially when we're working in the WordPress community, we cannot underestimate the power that we have here. And especially when I was launching products for so many different industries and building websites.
On behalf of your clients when you're
on behalf of the clients, there's nothing like that. It just doesn't exist. What we have here, look at this, man. Like when have you seen something like that? It's crazy.
So just to clarify for our audience, because we've got a camera pointing that way and a camera pointing at me, behind my camera is WordCamp EU happening right now. And I think it's the biggest WordCamp in the world, right?
Ever, yeah.
It's about 3,000 people?
3,000 people signed up.
So we've got a lobby over here full of people, and then the conference behind that, and it's very busy and a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's so because I was part of the community for a little more than 10 years now, building WordPress sites and doing these kind of things, it was kind of a natural thing for me to reach out back to the people that I was contributing to for years on Facebook groups and answering random questions, even though you don't really get anything out of it instantly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just helping the community. Now it was, and that's what I even said on the video. I've been helping everyone for 10 years. Now I need your help. And it's fine. And this is also something that a lot of early entrepreneurs or founders at an early stage kind of feel, you fear asking for help, and because you feel that this is your thing, and this is kind of you gotta show that you're always in power or always in control.
Yeah, I think it's a combination, a little bit of fear, and then maybe also, one of the things that drives entrepreneurs, I think, is perhaps ego.
Yeah.
Like I know how to do this. I'm brilliant or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of the two, right? And I gotta tell you, man, when I started growing a team, I realized the power of a team. and how I'd be missing out. And sure, up until that point, I didn't have budget to hire.
Yeah.
But as soon as I did, and I was able to add folks to our team, I realized I could hire people that are way better than me at many different things, and then they collaborate and they become greater than the sum of the parts.
Exactly.
And
it
it's
grows
just super
exponentially.
powerful.
It's not a linear process when you bring on people to the team.
Agreed. It's not a linear process. Yeah. But so this is really interesting, because a lot of technologists, myself included, are really focused on product. And you have this thing, I mean, you hear this over and over, but you do it anyway, where it's like, if you build it, they will come.
Right.
My product will be so good that people will come in droves to use it.
Right.
And you hear of other people saying, oh, well, don't make that mistake, and then you go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's also because it's your comfort zone, right? Building your product is your comfort zone.
We're builders, basically.
Yeah. And you are very much what I would call a growth hacker.
Right.
And it seems like you've had quite a bit of success over a very short period of time, both in terms of assembling folks to help you build the product and create that product feedback loop, and also getting early traction, and then getting early revenue, which is really the key to creating a going concern, having cash flow that funds building more cash flow down the line. So it's really cool.
And a lot of people, and especially in the tech world, not so much in the WordPress space, but like let's say the SaaS world and stuff, their go-to idea is let's raise funds. You don't have anything and you're starting to raise funds.
Yeah, right.
And it's just insane in my mind.
I
don't want that pressure of having investors on my mind, because no one knows what's going to happen at an early stage of any business. And I've seen a lot of my clients being all cocky, like you say, my product is going to change the market and it's going to, it's going to be massive and stuff like that. Then they put it out there and
tumbleweeds, crickets. Yeah. And then maybe it gets traction, right? But it takes time. But yeah, just getting back to the funding thing. My wife and co-founder, I'm probably going to misquote Kerry, but she describes funding as big money, bigger money, bigger challenge, right? Or bigger problem to solve. And what she's describing there is, if you, let's say you raise $500,000, well, now the investors expect an exit at some point, and perhaps you get another round, and you raise a couple million. Now the exit's not 20 million, it needs to be 100 million.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there actually has to be an exit. There has to be a liquidity event.
Yes.
And maybe you don't want to do that. You want to run a going concern where the business is going to be around for the foreseeable future. And so on. So yeah, if you can hang on to it and grow it organically and not create the need for much greater growth, and also the expectation for a liquidity event, I think that's a really nice place to be. Which is why these growth hacks that you're talking about, and when I say hack, I don't mean it as in a sort of to cheapen the approach. I mean that is how it's done. Right?
That's the right way to do it.
That's how it's done. It's the right way to do it. That's why they're so valuable. Is because it lets you potentially create a business that is 100% yours, and where your definition of success is not a multi-billion-dollar business. A revenue of a few $1 million is incredibly meaningful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I wouldn't say that if someone would come in and offer a 10 million, I wouldn't sell. But the way I see it, I'm an entrepreneur. It's not about the end goal. It's about the game. I like playing the game. So I'm excited about building this and bringing more people on board and serving more clients and seeing where the product grows to in the next years. Not just weeks or months. So I'm not concerned about any of that thing, and having your own money and bootstrapping stuff, I think is the right way. Everyone has their own kind of agenda or their own kind of perspective on these things. But for my experience and in the way that I like to do things, I like to have that kind of game in my hands, and having that investor, like you said, like your wife says, sitting on your shoulder and said, okay, now what, what's going on, what's next, and it creates unwanted pressure on a product that is just at such an early stage that it needs time to mature. It's like you have a baby and you just keep picking it up. walk, and he's still not crawling, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I will say that there's different kinds of investors. Some of them have much longer timelines, and I think also a lot less pressure on perhaps themselves to see a return on their investment.
Yeah.
So they can take a 10 or 15 year view or more, and they can be patient enough to let a business find out what kind of animal it wants to be, and find that product market fit through a multi-year process of iteration.
Yes.
And then there's others that aren't that patient.
But you never know what you're gonna get. It's like with clients, they can say whatever before you sign the contract, but only after there is like this. He might lose some money on another investment and starts getting that pressure.
Yeah. Well,
you never know.
I think one can do some research, right? So you can talk to other companies that this person is invested in. That's maybe a good way to get data. Also, investors that are really busy, that have invested in a lot of other companies and also have their own thing going on.
Have more leeway.
Are great.
Yeah.
And then I've seen this pattern where some investors that perhaps work for a large software company, perhaps in Seattle, no names mentioned,
right.
Made some money on stock options and are going around angel investing, have made less investments, want to be more involved, perhaps they have aspirations of being CEO,
right.
and they can get very hands-on, and there can actually be some conflict there. And I've seen some stories where
this
literally
this could kill a business, you know.
Yeah, no, it has. I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've had a guy I know in Starbucks, telling me the story and being very unhappy about it and so on. So, yeah, but it runs the whole gamut. It varies, and there are really great investors out there. There's really great angels out there, and there's really great VCs. And the VC model, I think, is legitimate for certain sort of growth paths.
Yes.
I would say.
So,
but I must say that I think your and my passion very much lies in the sort of growth hacking and creating a business that generates cash flow early on,
yes.
and kind of using that cash flow to grow it. That's what excites me, at least.
Yeah, I like to look at this like how fast can I get to the first dollar,
Yeah.
And that's something that I was working with my clients as well. Like, how are you gonna get the first dollar? Let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's do it yesterday.
Yeah.
And there is even a concept of sell before you build. That's kind of a leap of faith that you need to take. I didn't feel comfortable selling before I built anything.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do it, and I think it's
yeah.
right. Sometimes it's a smart move.
Yeah, and just to unpack that a little bit. So I think what you're talking about there is, I'm in the same boat as you. This feels a little unethical, but what some people do is they'll actually put up a checkout and say, well, here's this product. They pretend the product exists.
Yes.
They'll put up a website, they'll put up a checkout, and they'll take the customer all the way to the point where they think they're about to be billed and charged for the product, and then they say, okay, well, we're just kidding, it doesn't exist yet, but if you want to know about it, here's how you can find out more. So they're not actually billing people fraudulently or anything like that, but what it's doing is it is completely validating the idea in that there's a sales funnel right up until the point where the customer actually hands over money for this product, and they realize, oh, it doesn't exist. I've never done that. It feels a little bit unethical to me,
sketchy,
a little sketchy.
Yeah.
But you gotta admit that it does test the hypothesis of the product market fit pretty well. So perhaps there's more ethical ways to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that if you got someone to that point, just take the money already. You just get the money. And if anything, if you're already going this path, so I would, if I would do that, I wouldn't stop there. I would just get it and tell them, all right, let's be ready in 2 months.
Yeah, but I think create expectations in the funnel of like, this isn't quite ready yet.
Just being and that's really important for businesses, especially in an early stage. Just being transparent with your users or with customers, and not frame yourself as more than you are. Just I'm starting off. It's fine. Everyone has to start at some point, and that's one of the things when I said before about we talked about that ego and that asking for help or telling like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I'm gonna do my best to make it work and to be the best thing that I can do. I have a pretty nice track record already in my previous activities, but who knows? Like Brexit came, like, you know,
right.
like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So what's next for WP Feedback?
So now we're just keeping on growing. Next week we're actually doing the market launch.
And you guys are still iterating rapidly on the product?
Yes. So instead of two updates a week, we scaled it down to once a week, but still every week there's an update every Monday. And there might sometimes there is a midweek update, but it's like bug fixes or stuff like that from that thing. A huge thing for me now is partnerships. I want to get in front of the community in a larger scale, and that worked really well just through that kind of sharing hack that I was telling you about. So it can happen on a larger scale, and I'm just doing like a press tour, you know, and talking to as many people as I can. Stage 2 is actually having a centralized kind of a SaaS-like solution that will aggregate all of the data from all of the different client websites into one centralized hub. And my vision for this, or my mission, is that within 2 years, this is how we're going to talk to clients, all of us. Like, whatever all of us are doing right now just doesn't make sense, you know? Like,
and when you say all of us, you mean agencies? This is how agencies will interact with
the
clients.
WordPress community. That's my focus, and that's not going to change soon. So a lot of people ask me, like, why are you confining yourself just for WordPress? Why not just make it a script and have it on everything, you know, like, I don't know, Hotjar or something like that. First of all, I love the community. I love the power of it and the people within it, you know. We just met today, man, and we have so much thing in common.
I know, we're going to have a much longer conversation after this, right?
You guessed my first guitar and my first guitar, my first guitar idol, you know, without even talking to me.
Well, you did tell me that you rehearsed for 10 hours a day, so it had to be the Vire Satriani and it had to be an Ibanez, you know.
So just that thing, you know, like you talk to people and we all went through the kind of the same stages, and so many musicians, which is awesome in my mind, because it also kind of indicates that creativity that we have in that community, and creativity on one hand, but then maturing to understanding that you actually need to build a life, you know, and it feels like it's a really nice progression, because you still get that creation process like in music, but the rewards as well, you know.
For sure. All right, so we could go on forever, but we should probably wrap it up. If folks want to find WP Feedback, how do they? What's the website?
Sure. So it's wpfeedback.co.
Okay.
And we can find it on social media as well, like on Twitter. We have a nice following and it's very active. The Facebook group is buzzing. So if you search on Facebook, WP Feedback Community. On Instagram and even on LinkedIn, I connect with people myself, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening there as well.
Awesome. Well, Vito, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
At WordCamp EU in Berlin.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.